discussing something very, very important at our school. And we had to do it today, which is why I've just come in. And hence I don't know what has been discussed except for on this panel, so I may be completely, I just want to say one thing, which is my observation over the last 3-4 years in JNU. I live on campus, and therefore, whether it's the strikes or the processions or the marches or whatever it is, I'm very much in the middle of that space where all of this is happening, and therefore a witness. And I want to say, I just want to make 2 observations. One is related to the, what I witnessed over the last 4 years since 2014, which is an increasing violence on campus. I'm not a JNU student in my graduate years, MA, MPhil, PhD. I'm not from here, but I've joined JNU about 12.5 years ago, 13 years ago now, almost. And in this period, what I have witnessed since 2014 is an increasing violence, actual physical violence on campus between students and so on, and a threatening posture taken by certain groups of students, and actual violence between students, which I had not kind of noticed earlier. Which was not the experience, because of course there was a lot of debate and differences of opinion, but actual physical violence, etc., that is something which I feel has increased. I've also noticed that during the days leading up to Dashera, trucks full of students with red bands, etc., staffing bands going around the ring road of JNU, Jai Mata Di, Jai this, Jai that, etc., etc. So, the kind of threatening environment, a majoritarian threatening environment that I have witnessed as someone living on campus, which I want to link to also the kind of atmosphere now that is slowly becoming very common. And there is actual violence, like the Najib case, for instance, So a kind of majoritarian threatening posture, which is very, very important to note and to mark, which I connect, of course, with our politics, with our national politics, and Mr. Modi coming to power. So there is a kind of immunity that is given to a certain group of students, and they can do whatever they like. The other, which is actually related to this, is the issue of perception, the kind of perception that outsiders have of JNU, which is connected, of course, to media and to the way in which JNU has been maligned, and etc. So that extended family members, friends, or friends' families, etc., will say, "You don't know what is going on in JNU." I said, "But I do know because I live there." No, but you don't know, right? Because they know, because it's come on television. So after 2016, I was at the receiving end of a lot of explanations about JNU and what is going on in JNU by outsiders, right? And hence what is very worrying is the way in which we have to sort of fight at different kinds of levels, both inside JNU and outside JNU. And of course, I take very blatantly and very shamelessly take every opportunity of giving everyone a lecture outside. If they say कि JNU में भाई बहन जी क्या हो रहा है, तो मैं of course launch कर देती हूँ, उनको एक explanation दे देती हूँ कि वोट मत कीजिएगा, ये होने वाला, वो होने वाला, etc. I'm quite shameless about that. Recently, I was at a conference in Banaras at BHU, where I was asked. It was a conference on critical health humanities. So this is a new kind of term. I said to the people who invited me that this is not my area of research, so perhaps I'm not the best person. They wanted a keynote, one of the keynotes, and I said, but they insisted. So I said, okay, if you are going to insist, then I'm going to speak about the diseased body politic, because after all, it's not just the mind that is diseased, not just the physical body that's diseased, the mind and the social body is also diseased, and that's what I did. There's lots of clips, etc. Concluding with this horrifying clip of the murder by Regar of Muhammad Afrazul. When I showed it, I mean, it is really horrible. The audience was very stunned that I could dare to show that. And of course, then I had a lot of responses saying, what you're saying is unfair, what you're saying is partial, what you're saying is this. India has a tradition of 1500 years of tolerance, blah, blah, blah. And I said, thank you for saying that we've had this, this tradition of tolerance, and why are we just letting it go in the past 3 years? Why have we allowed our tolerance to just be, thrown away and so on? And, so what I was trying to say is that these are spaces, and very interestingly for me, because JNU in some ways is a very privileged kind of space where these issues can be discussed. In BHU, the boys didn't say anything, the students, the male students. There were a lot of undergraduate students, and about 8 girls came to me after this was over and said, thank you, ma'am, for raising these issues, because nobody speaks to us like this, and we are not allowed to speak like this. So what kind of a university space are we creating where we cannot raise issues? We cannot raise issues about violence, about injustice to the minorities, etc., etc. So I'm just saying that actually what I witnessed in BHU and what is going on in JNU at an increasing level, where we are at one level being trying to muzzle, we are being muzzled to speak about various things. I'm also known because of the work I've done as a hater of Hindus and a lover of Muslims. So that is my tag on Twitter, which I got from the Twitter line of other people. So the idea that you cannot express this, and on the other hand, an increasing violence against those students, of course, who have experienced it physically. And in this environment, I just want to say, put out there, the idea that, universities that are spaces where we should be able to say things and discuss things freely, if those spaces are going to be muzzled like the way in which BHU clearly is, and JNU they are attempting to do, and that is what we are fighting, then we are headed to a really dark times. Thank you.